Well, hello, everybody. I am Stacy Dunnemke with Nutrition Jobs, and today is a super fun event for you as we get ready for in-person conferences. I'm super excited. I have an awesome guest today. Brooke Schantz Fosco is a wonderful dietitian who's very knowledgeable in dietetic careers, in interviewing and getting your resume, your LinkedIn profile up to date, ready to go. She is here with us today, and we are going to talk about our pro prep tips for attending FNCE or for any major in-person conference. Welcome, Brooke.
Hi, thank you for having me. This is a fun topic. I love talking about FNCE.
Oh, right. Me too. And so I want everyone to know who Brooke is. So Brooke's been around for a long time. She's, again, an amazing dietitian. You can find her on LinkedIn here. Brooke, do you want to give us a little bit of a background about what you're up to these days?
Sure. So I started dietitian career coaching a while back. I originally built Bitchy Nutrition to do nutrition consulting, but I ended up helping so many of my colleagues, my students, my interns, my friends find and land jobs that I was like, this needs to be part of my business. And now it's basically 100% of what I do because I love it so much. And I feel like the secret sauce of my business is just that one-on-one working together with my clients. We work through their career strategies, their network plan, their resume, their interviews together. And that way they have so much more confidence finding and landing their dream jobs. And hopefully they're getting a really good salary to go with it.
Right? Yes, I totally agree. I love doing it as well. I think that both of us are in this business because it means a lot to us to help other dietitians. And you and I have been collaborating for years. And I think it's really great to be able to have you and I as a connection to help all the rest of the dietitians. There's other people out there that can do this too, but it's just great to be able to collaborate with other dietitians who are doing the same thing to help our profession as there's the saying, rising tide lifts all ships. So I think that's really helpful that we work together. Exactly. And then we get to go to conferences now. I'm very, very excited. You and I are both attending FNCE. And I when I first found out that this was going to be in person, I have to admit, I was like, oh, in person. Okay, here we go. I went to an in-person conference a few months ago for the first time in a couple of years. And I have to admit, like, it was a little overwhelming. I had to remember how to do a conference again. And so I thought, let's bring the two of us together today to talk about how to do an in-person conference again. If you've never done one before, we'll give you some really awesome tips on how to be prepared going into it. So just like a job interview or preparing for a presentation, I think you have to prepare for a conference, an in-person conference, similarly. So you know what you're expecting, and then you can prepare for that, even saying things out loud if you want to do your elevator speech. So making sure that you are feeling really prepared, that gives you confidence, and that helps you perform really well. And then that opens up opportunities for the future, whether it's for your career or for learning more about products or people or just networking in general. So we've got 6 pro tips. And if you've got any questions, put them into the chat and we will address them as we go along. So FNCE is in October in a few weeks in Florida. I know, I wish it was a few months because I'm still not ready. I feel like I'll never be ready. And so Brooke, give us your first tip.
So one of my favorite tips for going to FNCE and or any conference that you're headed to is SNS. And I talk to so many people about this often because for me, it's like my staples: shoes, naps, and snacks. And it sounds very basic, but I always walking around in high heel shoes at events, and then I quickly put on my flats or flip-flops, and everybody's like, I wish I would have done that. So that's why that's a part of what I always plan to do. Have your fancy shoes in your bag and then keep switching out, because these conference buildings are huge. And I know Stacy knows this. We get a lot of steps in. So you're going to be on your feet a lot. So you want to take care of your feet and be comfortable through that process.
Yeah.
And then also naps. Especially when you have a very long FNCE day, starting with a breakfast, going all the way to an evening event, which they're so fun, but just getting a quick break, whether you're walking outside, you're going back to your hotel room to drop stuff off, clean out your bag. I personally like the after lunch quick power nap for 15 minutes and just lay in the bed and just take a moment to recharge, refresh, and then get back out there. And then also snacks. So basically, like, bring your own snacks. Do not rely. I feel like this is definitely the pro tip, right? You know, the rookie thing to do is just eat at the expo hall, but please don't do that because you're gonna get sick. I feel like I did that as an intern, and you have to have the food staples. I mean, we're dietitians, right? You know, macronutrients. You have to have your food staples that refuel your body properly, because just running through the expo, you're gonna not be recharged and make it through the full FNCE experience. So that is definitely a priority. And then again, this isn't on my SNS plan, but just little things like whatever you think you're gonna need, put it in your bag. You wouldn't think about this, but having a portable phone charger, it's key, because finding an outlet when you're sitting in a huge session room is going to be really hard to do, and you're not going to be able to find your friends because your phone died. So
Right?
just the little things, like make sure you plan accordingly.
I love that. And I think what you brought up are very basic things, but when those things, those needs are not met, you've got sore feet, you've got low blood sugars, you are exhausted, those are distracting elements that can take you away from being able to show up for an opportunity. If someone like this person you've been wanting to meet, maybe it's an internship director, maybe it's a hiring manager at some big company that you want to work at, or you want to do like a brand relationship or partnership, and you can't remember what your pitch is because you're just in pain or things are not going well. So these may sound simple, but they are really impactful. And I totally agree with the shoes. So I have like tennis shoes and then regular shoes, and I sort of alternate between the two. But I like the idea also of flats because they can kind of fit into your bag better. And sometimes backpacks work well to put all that stuff in because it does get heavy. I am guilty of eating all the food in the expo, and you can see me with too many figs, raisins, dried fruit. Like by the end, I'm like, oh, I need more water.
I was gonna say, if you're gonna go down the fiber aisle at FNCE, at least please drink some water.
Right. Bring lots of water. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, I'm gonna move on to mine. Let's see if I can advance the slide. All right, this seems like another basic tip because you're thinking, okay, it is 2022, everything is digital, and I do not need to bring my business cards, but let me tell you, it is so helpful, especially if you can get your photo on it. I like to use there's a local print shop that I use in San Francisco. You can use Vista prints, very inexpensive business cards. You can also create them on Canva. And so I just put that in here. You don't need much. I kind of like having the photo on there because when
100%.
Yeah, like when you've collected 30, 40 business cards, and that goes for the person who received one of your cards, it is great to put a face to your name. And so I try to like use a photo that's not like a super, professional, like a nice headshot one. I kind of like to have it be one of the way I look, like as I'm walking through the conference, just a little more casual, not the perfect one, so that people can remember who I am. And I'll just put on their contact information, my LinkedIn profile, of course, my website, my email address, and I just put on San Francisco. You don't need to put your mailing address on there anymore. And then down here, so you put your name with your credentials. That is really important. Even if you're a dietitian eligible or something, definitely put that in there so people know who you are, a dietetic student, dietetic intern, and then put like a little tiny call to action about who you are. If you're a career coach, if you are a brand ambassador, you're a nutrition educator, you're a clinical dietitian, you're a nutrition support dietitian, you're a lactation consultant, like just go ahead and put that in there so that people can remember who you are. Or you can put that on the back of the card as well. If you have a little call to action, like, find my quiz, here, you can put that on the card as well. So that's my pro tip. All right, back to you, Brooke.
I love that. And it's funny too, where you were saying like, put the photo on there, that resonates more with who your audience is and what the image you want. Because I'm like, I feel like it's funny. You look at somebody's headshot and sometimes it doesn't give off their whole persona. Somebody saw me in person once and said, I thought you'd be a lot taller because of my little like social media image. And I'm like, wow, well, I'm not.
Yeah. And then also oftentimes we've had like maybe 1 or 2 professional headshot sessions and you love the way this photo looks, but it was 10 years ago and you don't look the same way. Maybe your hair color is different. You just look different. So it's okay. Like we look how we look, and we're going to look at how we look at the conference. And so that's how you want people to identify with you. That's important. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. So pro tip number 3 is network beyond the sessions. I think it's great going to sessions. We want to always be growing as professionals and learning. However, sometimes the magic happens outside of the session. It happens in the bathroom line. It happens in the elevator. I feel like I've met so many FNCE presidents in the elevator or the escalator, just randomly, just in my experience. And then also don't be afraid to go to sessions outside of your niche. Maybe you want to go to DPG events or support, other professional groups that you're not normally a part of, because it's always good to support others. One, it's going to help your network. You're going to be growing your network. And then also, you just never know who you're going to run into. I put a photo up on this slide because this is right after I had a baby and I got dropped off in the wrong conference building on McCormick Place, which if anybody went to Chicago in 2017, it's huge. I ran from one building to the other one because my friend Angel, who's a part of the Men in Dietetics group, was like, you need to make the photo. You're such a big supporter of our group. I want you in the photo. I ran like across buildings just to make the photo. And it's so small on this slide, but I'm in there. And again, it's nice because I got to network with all those gentlemen. And then we all went out, some of us went out to lunch afterwards, and it's just fun hearing other people's experiences. So feel free to get out of your comfort zone and network with other individuals that are not normally on your niche track, your professional track, et cetera.
I love that. A lot of the dietetic practice groups have little socials or networking events. And I've got one day where I've got like 4 different events. And of course, I'm not going to stay for 2 hours at each one. I'm probably going to do 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, and then end with the one that's my favorite with like my most favorite people. So you can hit on a lot of these different ones. And I always walk away with one little fun pearl from somebody, having met somebody. And I try to make an effort to do that. I'm very anxious about networking. I may seem like an extrovert because I do a lot of stuff to help other people, but I'm really what I call like an omnivert, where the idea of going into a party or networking or starting a webinar is like paralyzing to me. Like I get very anxious thinking about it. And then I just push myself to cross the threshold, walk into the room, and then I can relax. And then I always come out with something amazing. So if you see me at a conference outside the door, like looking like I'm talking to myself,
go get your hand.
Give me a little push me in. Yeah. So you don't have to be like this, amazing socialite to be able to benefit from these social events or networking events. So there's always something, always somebody. I'm always amazed that I walk away with so many pearls from these networking events. So I love that it's not just about the sessions, which are important, but it is also about all of the other casual curbside networking events that can happen as well. All right, so after you've been to one of these networking events, you can connect with them. Maybe you got their business card. Immediately connect with them on LinkedIn. Like get your phone out and find them on LinkedIn, get their name in and just connect. Just a quick little message along with your connection request saying, great to see you at the enteral nutrition social today. I look forward to talking to you about more of collaborating on a project, whatever it might be. You don't have to like have too much conversation in there, but just a little touch point, get that out there, because what I have found is that if you don't do something right away at FNCE or at any in-person conference, you can eventually go back home and forget about all the stuff that you wanted to do. Time just sort of escapes, and then you go back into your regular job. So because you're going to be connecting on LinkedIn quickly, or very, very quickly after you've met somebody or after an event, before you go, try to update your LinkedIn profile. Try to make sure that it reflects who you are. Same with the photo on there, and have it look like, what you look like today. Also, make sure that your media kit, if you've got a media kit and you're working as a brand ambassador or a nutrition communicator or a media dietitian or culinary dietitian, all of those types of outwardly focused groups, you want to make sure that that media kit is updated. Make sure your metrics are up to date. I have to look and make sure that mine are up to date. Like if I'm sending out emails to somebody and sending it, just always make sure it's up to date. So have that media kit live on your website, but you can put a link to it on your LinkedIn profile. It could be one of the featured articles on there, so that when people are looking to find out more about you and what your audience is and how they can work with you, then it's updated. So that just goes for all of your stuff. I know it's hard to take it all in, pack, get ready, make business cards, but try to get a couple key things squared away before you go. Do you have any thoughts about that, Brooke?
I was going to say, honestly, I think that's a perfect segue into the next pro tip, because that was making me think as well about, kind of what you said about the call to action. Like, what are you going to do and what are you going to leave with? So you're having your business cards ready to go. You have your resume ready to go. You have your LinkedIn profile ready to go. Now, when you meet somebody, what's your call to action? How do you want to leave that conversation? Do you want to just connect on LinkedIn? Do you want to connect on LinkedIn and email them your resume? Do you want to basically help them with something? Maybe you talked about their professional goals and you're like, I have a connection for you at this company and I'm going to send an introduction. So definitely make sure that there's a call to action for you and or the person that you just met. And sometimes, in addition to sending a LinkedIn message and email, I also, if I get a business card, I take notes on the back of the business cards too, so that it's just something quick for me to look through later and I have that ready to go. And it's kind of like my little note sheet. And I know how to follow up appropriately, because you made all these great connections. You don't want to just walk away from that conversation and it goes nowhere.
Yeah, I like that. And you mentioned call to action for your business. And I also want to put it out there that even if you are not in business for yourself, that you can market yourself to other dietitians for collaborations, so that you guys can, get together like Brooke and I do. You can market yourself so that maybe when you're working within your own company, that you can get promoted, or you can take on some different responsibility, maybe not more, but a different type of responsibility, or get onto a committee, sort of putting out there what it is that you're able to do, and sort of be thinking that way. Think about how you want to show up. And again, if you're working for a company, not for yourself, I think having your services on, for example, on your LinkedIn profile or on your Instagram or Twitter, wherever you like to show up or where you think your audience is, and making sure people know what your signature services are, what your expertise is, or maybe what an amazing accomplishment that you've had. Like maybe you are able to insert NG tubes in your facility, and you just want to have that information out there. Maybe you can give talks to other people or webinars on how to do that for dietitians. So just making sure, it's kind of just like marketing yourself, whether you're in business for yourself or not. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it sounds silly about having that elevator speech ready to go, to basically have your personal brand established. What are you going to say for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, or even 15 seconds, in case you are just going up an escalator and you're shouting to the person going down? You need to know how to market yourself, because, you are always looking for your next opportunity. Whether, again, like Stacey said, you're in business for yourself, or you have a job, maybe you love the current job you're in. There's always something out there that maybe you could collaborate on, you can volunteer for. Maybe there's an award that somebody wants to think of you of. So you need to work on that personal brand at all times.
Love it. I love the awards. I always forget about the awards. You can never get too many awards. Right?
And there's so many FNCE awards, like FNCE scholarships to attend. So even that, there's a lot of rewards.
I see a future webinar on awards. Okay. Here's my last pro tip. I get overwhelmed with lots of responsibilities at FNCE, and I know I'm going to meet a lot of people. I'm going to meet a lot of people at the booth that I have at the member product marketplace. And so I queue up ahead of time email templates, conversation little templates ready to go so that I can follow people very quickly, because I get exhausted after FNCE or any big in-person conference. And so I get it all queued up. So this is just an example of meeting with a brand. Maybe they want to sponsor a webinar or an event, or they want me to help spread the word about a product or event that they're having. When I meet them, I just want to have it all ready to go. I know it's a 4-line email, but it really helps me to prepare ahead of time. So that's my pro tip, is always get ahead. This is actually works for if you're going to an in-person job interview, and you want to send something by mail. I like just like getting the address on the envelope already, the stamp, start the card, because it's just when you come back from these events, all of those steps can seem overwhelming, and then they don't happen. You put them off, you procrastinate, and then you've never made a contact, and you kind of wasted your time that you didn't take advantage of the amazing opportunity that was presented, that you created, and you didn't follow up, because it's a lot. Yeah. So that's my last pro tip. And I want to see if there's any questions in the chat before we move on to the last little bit. There is one about, let's see. Okay, so this person wanted to know about some sort of interesting FNCE moments or in-person conference moments that are highlights. Brooke, I'm going to let you take that one. Like, what are some highlights from in-person conference that you?
One of my favorite FNCE moments is I have a group of dietitians, because again, supporting dietitians. I'm a dietitian groupie. That's what I love doing. We decided to sneak into a FNCE event together and just meet up after, later on. And it was so much fun. It was like a while back, but I just remember it being such a fun night, and networking and meeting new people. And so that was one of my highlights. And then I also met someone, I went to a session one time, and it just was not what I thought it would be. And I thought my time would be better spent like going through the expo or going networking. And that's okay too. You can go to a session and be like, sometimes this isn't what I thought it was going to be, and leave. And it was the best thing I did, because the conversation I had standing outside of those doors lasted for an hour, and I made a lifelong RD buddy, because she left at the same time I did. I mean, so it's just, again, you have to be open to those opportunities, and meeting people at random times.
Yeah, I like that. You know what you said that triggered my thought for me was, you said that you went to this event and it was really fun. You guys had a lot of fun. And I think we sometimes think conferences are just a lot of work, because you're sitting down doing educational or didactic work. It's about work. It's for work. You might have to come back and give a report to your group of students or interns or coworkers. I used to have to do that. That was sort of like how I would, pay for going to a conference. I would go back like with trends and new information, and that's kind of work. But the fact that you had fun, I think, is really helpful and really important for our profession to stay cohesive together as dietitians, dietetic students, to really be able to feel strong and united together and have fun working. Yeah. Okay. Let me see if there's any more questions in the chat. If you guys have any in the Q&A, just go ahead and drop those in there. I'll run through a couple more slides, but we'll go back to those questions again. So Brooke, tell us just a little bit more again, how people can find you.
So I think it's the easiest way to find me is on Instagram, and you can send me a direct message. Also, if you are currently in a role and it's just not for you, or you're a new RD, and you're not sure what niche is best for you, in my link tree on Instagram, I have a Find Your Dietetics Niche quiz. It's free. Honestly, you can get it done in 5 minutes. And I feel like it's almost 100% success rate. Like my clients that have done it, they're like, this was spot on. So it at least gives you a starting point. And then together we can do career strategizing and really figure out what's going to ignite your soul for that next step in your career.
I like that. Okay, that's good. We got another question in. The question was about business cards, and let me see if I can scroll up to find back to the business cards. Yes. So the question was, how do we want to handle the business card? Do you want to do front and back? Do you put your LinkedIn profile? Do you put your Instagram? And yes to all of those. So yes, front and back. I only put the front on this particular slide, but I definitely recommend, front and back is a good idea. Then I always include my LinkedIn profile. I never used to do that, but now, of course, I always do that. And then I also put in, I should actually put my Instagram in there. Thank you for that. I think I'll just because all of my social media stuff for my business is at Nutrition Jobs, but I think I'm going to put that in there. So thank you for that. I haven't ordered my cards yet. I have some old ones, but I'm going to order some new ones as well. And so, yeah, just, leave a little bit of white space on there. It doesn't have to be jam packed. Doesn't have to look like a professor's card where there's there's no room for anything because of the long mailing address. Don't worry about a mailing address on there. You don't need to have that front and back, unless you're a local dietitian, you want to have people come to your practice or something. But a lot of the work that we do is digital. So yeah, good question. Any other questions about FNCE in-person conferences? Or
I had something to add to that too, Stacy. It just made me think, again, we're talking about personal branding and the business cards. Your business card should also represent your personal brand. So on the back, if you want to have take a little creative liberty to do something that speaks to who you are as a professional, like one of the colleagues I know, she's in the vegetarian DPG. So she put a bunch of vegetable names, like kale was on one business card. So she had a bunch of carrots was on another. So that spoke to her passion in dietetics. And it was memorable to me because I'm obviously talking about it now. So feel free to get a little creative with parts of your business card so that you are remembered.
That's a good one. And then the other thing that just came to mind, something I've done a lot for this conference is I have created landing pages for my website where I want people to be able to find things very quickly, not have to run through all the jobs, maybe find there's quizzes on there, there's special articles, there's downloads, there's checklists, things that I want people to find. And so I've turned into the QR code queen. I make a QR code for these landing pages. And so I think I'm going to put the QR code on the back of the business card to be able to let people go to where I want them to go. So there's jobs, of course, on Nutrition Jobs, but there's lots of other resources for people too. So everyone's given us some. This is the beauty of getting together and sharing ideas, an exchange of ideas. It's synergistic. Not only do you hear what other people are talking about, but it triggers something for yourself to be able to implement. All right, so this is where you can find me at Nutrition Jobs. At FNCE, I will be doing the Student Center resume reviews. I will be doing a session on negotiation success together with 3 other amazing dietitians on a panel discussion on how to influence your decisions and advance your career. And then come to the booth Monday, 9 o'clock for goodies, swag, get to see me in person, get to talk, get to chat, take our picture. I've got a photographer coming. So please come and say hello. And then I'm just going to close out saying that I've got a bunch of different courses that you guys might be interested in. We've got the LinkedIn profile checklist that you can find on the homepage of Nutrition Jobs. And of course, we have all of the video tutorials over on YouTube. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. And this is where you can find me. Anything else, Brooke, you'd like to share?
I think we covered a lot. Hopefully, everybody gets some tips for FNCE, and then please Instagram us, reach out on LinkedIn and find us. We'd love to meet up and connect.
Yeah, let me just see if there's any more questions in the chat. That looks like it. All right, everybody. Thank you. May the force be with you for your next in-person conference. And we are all done for today. Bye for now.
Bye, thank you.